The world of 2021 is ruled by coffee, and Neo-London goes crazy for it. They say that in this job only two cases matter, the one that breaks you and the one that makes you a real cop. I'm Arthur Oliver, and I'm a private investigator, but I used to be a cop here in Neo-London. I quit 10 years ago. I failed. I hoped I'd never come back here. I read about Richard Kersey's disappearance in the papers on a train journey. Coffee tycoon vanishes, the front page headline at the Neo-London Espresso screamed. For many, Kersey was a wealthy celebrity buffoon, pure envy. They lost contracts and profits to him. They even lost their reputations as he dragged competitors through the courts. And me? I lost a lot more to him. Catherine, my beloved, and his wife. 10 years ago, Richard was involved in a spot of bother. He had a debt. Unfortunately for him, it was Kath who received the demands for payment. Kersey happened to be abroad at the time, totally out of reach. She got scared and tried sorting it out herself, in cash. She asked me for help. I couldn't do it in my official capacity, but I took my gun and set up a sting. It ended tragically. A few days ago, Henry called, Richard's older brother. He sounded down, just like me.
Okay, I know all about it, Arthur. You quit the force, you're still tormented by Kath's murder. Listen, Richard's daughter doesn't have to know anything about you two, nor Richard. But I'm begging you, help me find him. I'll give you a flat to live in, some cash, and a cover story that you're a salesman. Just come, please.
So I'm in Neo-London again. The business with Catherine broke me. So maybe the case with Richard will be the one to make me a real cop again. Richard's disappearance was big news. There was speculation about mafia involvement, either Italian or Yakuza. I think there might be something in that. Little Clarabelle, Richard and Kath's daughter. The last time I saw her was at her mother's funeral. I wanted to comfort her. Now it looks like it's her who wants to comfort me. She's so like her mother, especially her eyes. Can't forget watching the life draining out of Catherine's eyes. On the way to the hotel, Clarabelle told me her father might have been kidnapped by an angry competitor. It's a possibility. Kersey did all sorts of weird deals with even weirder people. Maybe one of them had enough of Richard's caprices. Over the phone, Clarabelle confirmed what Henry had promised. There was a flat and a position as a salesperson in their family business. That was to make investigating easier. Fair enough. Let it be. If that's what the investigation demands, I'll become the best damn salesperson in Neo-London. I'll help Clarabelle with her business. I'll find Richard. I'll find your killer, Kath. I won't let you down twice. Promise.
Dear Arthur, thank you again for agreeing to work on this case in such unusual circumstances. As I mentioned during our last meeting, Uncle Henry and I suspect that one of my father's business partners must be involved in his disappearance, or at least knows something about it. We believe it would be best to work undercover and meet them offering a delivery contract. It's also better that a private investigation will remain as a secret. Check out the instructions I've left you and look around in your office. After that, meet me at my cafe. See you soon. Clarabelle Kersey.
Hello, Miss Clarabelle. The cafe looks great. Really bright, cozy, homely.
Hello. Thanks. The decor was my father's work. He was very careful to create a friendly atmosphere. Please don't call me miss.
Sorry, it's your hairstyle. You look so young, I couldn't help myself. But fine. First names only.
Great. Let's get down to business.
I want to ask about your childhood. I know there are painful memories, but it's important for the case.
All right. I've had time to get some distance on it. How can I help?
Tell me, how you coped after your mother's death.
Well, not too well. Dad hated talking about it. He worked a lot, went away a lot. And me? I remember lying there, crying. Mr. Pencey was with me. He took my temperature, brought me cups of tea. I was alone.
Any friends? School psychologist?
I had this one friend, Amy. She came to cheer me up a couple of times, but I think I wore her out. I was incredibly shy as a child. The school psychologist sent me to a psychiatrist for medication. I was supposed to go there with an adult, but it never happened.
Why? Something changed. Something got better?
Yeah, you could say it was thanks to Mr. Van Haven.
Hold on, I'll write this down. Who was it?
Joseph Van Haven, Dad's friend from college. He and his wife Amanda offered to take care of me, together with his housekeeper. I was to sleep at my home, spend the day with them, mainly with Mrs. Fink, the housekeeper. Dad immediately agreed.
And you? Did you have any say in it?
I was a bit scared at first, but they were really nice. They were like my family. They still are.
Thanks, Clarabelle. That's a lot of help. Can you give me a contact number for Van Haven and Fink? I'd like to ask them a few questions.
Sure, here you go.
Great. Who do you think I should meet first?
Mr. Van Haven. Visit him posing as a sales rep. Sell him some coffee. He's a really nice guy and a good candidate for checking your abilities.
Investigative abilities?
Business and negotiating. Remember that you operate undercover and you must be credible. Only then will investigative skills come in handy.
So, where do we get the coffee from?
The production department sees to that. Using the console in your office, you decide how much of a given brand to produce in a given week. You'll be starting with a single type, classic standard.
Okay. Then what?
Later, you can start working on other brands because different clients have different needs. It's also worth making production more efficient. It's costly and can hold up production, but it pays off in the long term. You have to keep an eye on production costs and warehouse levels.
Warehouse. Okay, I think I've got all that. How do I run my team?
It's like this. In the management board, you assign tasks to groups and how many hours per week they have to complete them. Neglecting tasks, i.e. managing production or account management, can lead to production failure or suspension of deliveries. Make sure employees are busy.
Okay, what else?
Lead acquisition and due diligence will allow you to arrange meetings and get valuable information about your clients that will be useful during a business meeting.
Okay, let's say I manage to sell something. What then?
You can also assign project management tasks. Each production upgrade or marketing campaign is treated as a project that needs to be taken care of. Staff training helps develop their competences.
That's just what I wanted to ask about. Where do I get new employees from?
The relevant forms are in the HR department. We always have a few candidates for employment waiting in the wings.
What if I need to advertise a product? I might get to more people that way.
Advertising campaigns are available from the marketing department. Remember to choose the right campaign type for the specific brand of coffee. A well-chosen campaign will increase brand awareness and demand for your products.
After my first meeting, I might need a campaign like that. Just a little one.
Have more faith, Arthur. We'll do some more negotiating training first.
I guess I should also be overseeing the costs and expenses. Where do I find out about that?
Finance. A detailed list of income and expenditure is in the profit and loss account.
What if there's nothing in my account and I need a loan?
You can borrow money, but only up to the company's debt limit.
Clarabelle, did you ever hear of a detective in debt?
Nope, but I've read of a few.
Seeing as I'm managing people, I'll have to assess their work and look after them. How do I learn how to do that?
Everything about HR matters can be found in metal cabinets. First of all, make sure to motivate your staff. It improves their work levels. Dissatisfied workers work badly and often leave.
Let's move on. Can I train a team like you're training me now?
Sure, in this same section, you can access lessons on improving your employees' competence.
I don't really know the London coffee market. In fact, I don't really know anything about any market. How do I work out what coffee to produce and who to sell it to? Where do I find information about current and potential clients?
In the sales section, look into the computer. You'll find contacts to clients, what brand of coffee they buy, and whether there is an appointment arranged.
Let's say I'm feeling well prepared. What then?
Then it's time for a business meeting. Just dress up right and get to the right place on time.
One more thing. Let's say I sign a contract on poor terms. Then I become a better negotiator, and I don't like the contract anymore. Can I break it?
During the meeting, you can always opt out of signing the contract, or simply stop the conversation and leave. If after signing you do not assign employees to service the contract, the client will terminate the cooperation after some time.
I know everything now.
Yes, we have to practice contract negotiating. As it happens, I need a fresh delivery. Let's role-play the scene where you offer me a contract. Ready?
Couldn't be readier. Let's start. What do I need to bear in mind during a meeting with a client?
Their personality, needs and preferences, which you looked into prior to the meeting.
Cool. You mentioned client needs.
Yes, every client states their needs for specific brands of coffee. Manage the ongoing production so that you can meet all your clients' needs.
I don't have a clue about drawing up contracts. What should a contract contain, and what do I need to remember?
Oh, that's simple. After the initial conversation, a standard formula contract comes up. Your job is to establish the unit price for the coffee. I'll give you a standard form to look at.
Great. You read my mind like a natural negotiator.
Please concentrate, Arthur. One more thing. Some clients always insist on delivery and insurance, others don't. Those options can always be negotiated and can earn extra income.
Extra income sounds good. I'll bear it in mind. I think I'm ready. Let's try a negotiation and point out anything I get wrong. And when I recover from that, you can give me some more tips.
Okay, let's begin negotiating.
Okay. I got this. Good morning. I've come about your coffee supplies, namely the classic standard. We can offer competitive terms and, what was next?
No, if you start like that, there's no way you'll succeed. You have to be prepared for negotiating and know what to start the conversation with. Improvising is okay too, but it has to be snappy.
I can do snappy.
Great, show me.
Good morning. As we agreed, I've prepared a contract to supply classic standard coffee. Would you like to go over the details?
That's not too bad, but clients don't always want to get right down to business. It's worth creating a friendly atmosphere and demonstrating goodwill. You want to try?
Friendly and goodwill. That's me. Good morning. Is that coffee cake? That smells good enough to stop traffic.
Really? Thanks for saying so. We just finished baking it. Here it is.
Wow, it looks better than it smells. Did you make this, Miss Clarabelle Kersey, I presume? I've come to talk to you about coffee supplies.
Not bad, Arthur. A well-judged compliment can work wonders. But some clients don't like them. Now do you see why doing your research on the customer is so important?
Yes, I knew you liked baking cakes, so I could mention it, but it's only a small thing from your private life.
Precisely. Everything can be useful during negotiations.
Good morning. I've come to talk about supplying our coffee to you, but if I'm going to talk about coffee with such a lovely lady, it will have to be over a coffee.
Oh dear, Arthur. Complimenting my appearance or flirting with me really isn't a good idea in a business context. I know you meant to be nice, but someone else might take it differently. Very differently.
Can we move on to establishing the terms of the agreement? What does a contract like this look like?
Here's a standard contract. Here, look. Good, that looks acceptable. Be prepared that the client will want to renegotiate the terms here. Assume that they're going to ask for a price lower by this percentage. How are you going to persuade me your offer is already attractive enough?
You want a lower unit cost. We can do that, but only under certain conditions.
Such as?
We can do it if you order 3 times this amount, or if you extend the period of the agreement. That's the only way it's worthwhile for us.
Those are pretty steep demands.
Perhaps it's better to consider the initial price again.
I feel a little backed up against a wall. I don't feel like you're treating me like an equal partner. The tactic can be effective, but it's risky. They might see you as being rude and you'll lose the chance of further contacts.
Look at the unit cost, though. It's already ridiculously low. For an initial contract, the terms are really excellent.
Using this technique is a good idea. Avoid using words like ridiculous, though. You'll often have to calculate exactly what you can concede or what else you can do to close the deal and still make money.
Let's look at the price in relation to quality. Everything about our coffee's top drawer: taste, aroma, and certification. Coffee like that at a price like this is a real bargain.
Let's assume I will agree for such discount. Every supplier claims his or her coffee is the best. How are you going to support your claims so they don't come across like empty boasts?
Some facts and figures to prove that this discount is a sensible bargain.
There you go, Arthur. That's how you support your credibility and generate client trust. But it would be better if you actually knew some data. For a first go at negotiating, that went pretty well. Let's say I'll sign the contract, but I have one more proposal: the first month's batch for lower price. Agreed?
Okay, it's a reasonably big order, so I guess we can do that.
The client is sure to be happy, but does it still pay for you? Conceding too easily to surprise conditions can cost you a lot.
Okay, you've got me there. I'll remember that.
I think that covers everything. Now it's time to put it into practice, both as a business person and a negotiator. Make sure you swat up on the materials and look at this week's tasks.
Thank you. I'm sure it will all prove helpful in this investigation and in finding your father. See you soon, Clarabelle.
Thanks, Arthur. It means a lot to me. Now it's up to you, and I think you're the last hope I've got.
I should sum up what happened after that meeting. Someone important lives here. That's what the Kersey home seemed to be saying. This is where the investigation begins. Walking in, Clarabelle hugged herself. From the cold? Cute. Clarabelle only slept here, though. After her mother's death, she was taken in by Joseph Van Haven, her father's friend, who treated her like his own daughter. His wife tried. Mostly, though, she left her to the housekeeper, Mrs. Fink. Why did the Van Havens raise the Kersey kid? A friendly favor? Guilt. A servant greeted Clarabelle with a stack of unopened letters. She stuffed them into her bag and went inside. A lot to catch up, I joked, and Clarabelle explained that she no longer lives in the residence with her beloved. I asked for a family photo of the Kerseys. There was an exotic-looking guy in the midst of a sea of pale Brits. Mr. Gabriel was an artist who taught Clarabelle to draw. He looked pretty stiff, probably trying to avoid her dreamy eyes. In the living room, among many works of art, a spot after a taken-down painting drew my attention. It was a peculiar view. Clarabelle told me the painting belonged to her mother. One day Richard simply packed it up and took it to Joseph. Did he want to sell it? Hide it? I didn't get a chance to ask. Clarabelle answered an urgent call and, apologizing, left in a hurry. I went to gather my thoughts. Catherine's death, Richard's disappearance, the unusual arrangements with the Van Havens, that picture. Clarabelle was right. A detective was needed here. But I have my... All in good time. The last lead is Richard's disappearance, perhaps the best-known coffee supplier in London. I'll start by entering into his world. That means turning into a businessman. My first customer will be Richard's old friend and Clarabelle's ward, Joseph Van Haven. Clarabelle gave me his address and phone number. He's an old, experienced trader. I'd better prepare thoroughly. I need to check the investigation board. Now I need to set the new clues and data on the board. Have I assigned all the tasks properly? I think I didn't set the production properly. I need to plan my actions. So, what's going on in this company? Someone place an order. The deal isn't great, but it's a chance for some extra cash. That's enough for today. Another report. Hope there's some good news. Someone place an order. The deal isn't great, but it's a chance for some extra cash. So, what do I have to deal with this week? Good morning, Mr. Van Haven. Arthur Oliver. I'd like to talk to you about our coffees. Clarabelle Kersey recommended I speak to you. She said she knows you well.
Ah, yes. Welcome. Welcome. Naturally, I was expecting you after Clary phoned. Sweet girl, isn't she?
Lovely. Actually, really lovely, considering what she's been through at such a young age. The stuff about her parents. It's true, isn't it?
Sadly, yes. A terrible, brutal thing for such a child. You see, her parents were friends of mine. After Catherine died and Richard usually been absent, my wife and I did all we can to provide a normal upbringing for her. You've seen yourself how, despite all this, Miss Kersey is doing very well.
Oh, yes, and she's a tough negotiator.
I taught her well. She could always get you to read for one more hour, go for one more walk, or give her a bigger portion. It comes in very useful as an adult, but you don't have all day to listen about the young Kersey girl. Let's take a look at what you've brought with you. I can't wait to see.
Nice photo. From your student days?
Yes, being young is wonderful when the world is your oyster.
You speak as if it's over.
What? You mean I don't look like it? You are a card, Mr. Oliver. Well, I do try to move a bit so as to not become totally desk-bound.
It shows. And the man next to you, isn't that Richard Kersey?
The very same. He was my best friend at university and since. And these are our charming wives. Actually, our fiancés then. Catherine Seeger and Amanda Okote.
You look a close bunch.
We were, then. But life writes strange scenarios. The best of friends can fall out over the silliest things. And other people are worth forgetting.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I keep the picture to remember the good times. Let's return to the here and now. Mr. Oliver, things are looking up.
I heard you graduated from the London School of Economics.
Ah, good times. Young, confident, sure of yourself. It was tough at times, but what do you expect from the best academy in the country? We shared a room in the dorms with Richard. Soon after, I met Amanda, my wife. Richard's future wife introduced us. Then everything started falling into place. Obviously, only up till the Kersey's tragedy, which hit me and my wife hard. That's the past, though. There's nothing there for us now. Let's move on.
Foxy Hills must keep you pretty busy.
Perhaps, but I like my work. You know, contact with people, things are always changing. It's true my wife moans a bit that I could help with the little one more, but those nappies. I don't know, it's not for me. I handle a cigar far better.
Congratulations on the birth of your daughter. I hope both the mother and baby are doing well.
Thank you. Both in good health, and so similar. I tell you, they look like sisters. It's amazing how a person passes on their genes and then watches as they live their own life.
It seems you're enjoying your new role.
Not at first, but it's getting better and better. Despite my super condition, I'm not as young as I was, and the little one demands so much attention, just like our business. Let's get down to it, shall we?
We take production very seriously, Mr. Van Haven. Our products meet ISO 35000, and the caffeine levels in our coffee are at the desirable level of 40 milligrams per 100 grams of product. On top of that, we offer innovative, personalized packaging designed to meet the customer's needs. What do you say?
Really, Mr. Oliver? You want to waste your time on all that marketing jargon? It doesn't impress me at all.
Fair enough. My mistake. I wanted to impress you with my professionalism, but I guess it came over a little stiff.
Fair enough. For me, the most important things in business are sincerity, openness, respect, and understanding. When someone fakes it, they put on a mask and the atmosphere is ruined. We're a similar age, we speak the same language, we can reach an understanding. I used to be interested in the effect of different cultures on negotiations. In Japan, there is a need for distance. Don't even dare to look someone in the eye. It's even harder with the Swedes. They're so serious. Oh, this is a good one. Do you know the difference between an introvert Finn and an extrovert one?
I really have no idea.
The first, throughout the whole conversation, looks at his shoes. The second looks at yours. It's a good one, isn't it?
Well, you can learn so much from visiting a client. But anyway, to get back to the aim of my visit, can we discuss the deal?
But of course, I was rambling, but you have to admit, it's a fascinating aspect of business. Your proposal exceeds my current capabilities. I suggest we cut the delivery charges or just lower the product cost to compensate them. The price on the contract will then be lower by this percentage. That's a sensible concession, and I really can't offer any more than that.
That's a large concession, I admit. I'm a bit new to this. I'm only starting out in business, so your understanding is really valuable to me. Is it normal to ask for such large concessions? You have a lot more experience than me, so I need your help.
Let me tell you what my method is. Please just relax. You're very open, which encourages trust. Maybe I was asking a bit too much. Please tell me about the deal. Once I'm familiar with it, it'll be easier for us to reach a compromise.
Not to mince any words, advice like that shows a true businessman. Thank you very much. If we can turn to the product, it's an excellent coffee, ground to your specifications with every care taken to retain the aroma, and we're offering an exceptional price to our first partners. For similar quality, you'll pay much more anywhere else.
Do you think so? The price seems high to me. Would you consider half the initial discount?
Mr. Van Haven, you've clearly earned the right to be regarded as a big player. I can't concede so much. But maybe this reduction would suffice? It's not a massive difference for you, but it makes a big difference to us.
That's nice to hear. Okay, I agree. You worked me hard, but there's always a bit of trial of strength to begin with. All in all, though, I think this is the start of a good relationship. Let's sign the forms.
I should sum up what happened after that meeting. Van Haven's a good businessman. He welcomed me like an old friend and led me past the pictures. Clients were supposed to see signs of Joseph's education and worth. But me? I spotted a young, cocky Richard with my Catherine. She had no idea what she had coming. The other woman was Amanda Van Haven. It must have been through their being two young married couples at the same time that Richard and Joseph became such close buddies. Joseph watched as I examined the photos. He smiled, apparently at the memories. He'd played this scene out hundreds of times. He told the story of what a close bunch they were, until the girls fell out over a trifle. What trifle? It's not even worth mentioning, nor anyone else, he added. Was he talking about the third woman in the picture? It puzzled me. Catherine never mentioned a conflict with Joseph's wife, Amanda Van Haven. And I never asked. I was, too busy falling in love with Kat. What trifle broke their long-term friendship? I wanted to ask after the negotiations. The telephone interrupted us. The call was from George McFaul with an urgent matter. Joseph chuckled. Another golden opportunity. And lifted the receiver. He pointed to his watch. It looked like it was going to be a long call. I nodded, gestured I'd give him a call, and left. It wasn't a good meeting. Van Haven kept talking right over me. On purpose? Or was he taking pity on me? Am I really that bad a salesperson? Regardless, he didn't tell me anything new about Richard's disappearance. At least he bought some coffee, though. Still, he seemed too cheerful to me as for someone whose close friend had gone missing recently. Or maybe they were friends in the past tense, just as he worded it by chance during our talk. One more thing was still troubling me. That missing painting from the Kersey's living room. Did its disappearance have anything to do with the case? And why did Richard take it to Joseph? Clarabelle might know the answers. I rang and asked her. She thought the painting was a memento from the founder of the family, Shallard Kersey, 18th century. Why did it get sent to Joseph? She didn't know. So back to Van Haven. I called, pretending to be the Kersey's lawyer. Mr. Van Haven, I've been instructed by Clarabelle Kersey to draw up an inventory of the family's works of art. He bought it, so I asked. If he still had Richard's painting, he muttered something about calling back and hung up. Why? Joseph's reaction suggested the painting was a good lead. I need to check it out discreetly. I'm curious about the other blonde in the photo. Why did the jovial Van Haven avoid mentioning her? Perhaps I'd get to ask her soon myself. Case closed for today. Time to get my head round the supplies for the new contract. I need to check the investigation board. Now I need to set the new clues and data on the board. No, this won't work. You're hired. Welcome aboard. You're hired. Welcome aboard. This is a good lead, but the information may... Good morning, Mrs. Fink.
Good day, Mr. Oliver.
I'm very grateful you found time to meet me today.
Well, it wasn't easy. But I also have a fish to fry here.
Excellent. Let's get down to brass tacks then.
By all means.
You've been in your boss's office on occasion, haven't you?
Of course. I go wherever I might be needed, Mr. Oliver.
No doubt. Anyway, in Joseph's...
Mr. Van Haven's?
Yes, of course. I saw the photograph from his graduation there. You know the one.
Perhaps.
There are several people in it. I recognize them all but one. Icy blonde. Mr. Van Haven didn't want to speak about her. Why?
I'm not surprised. It's Britt Gamelkvist. I have nothing to say about that woman.
So you know her then?
Only from the photo, like you. That's all.
How long have you worked for the Van Havens?
I do not work for them, Mr. Oliver. I run the house.
Okay. I like my work too. How long have you assisted the Van Havens?
In 1 month, it will be 19 years.
Wow. Impressive.
Not really. I simply do what is required of me.
Reliably and discreetly?
Just so.
And yet you agreed to meet me and divulge the family secrets. Why?
I have my reasons. And any secrets I might tell you. They pose no threat to the Van Havens.
You looked after the Kersey's daughter, didn't you?
I did. I don't have children, but I stood in for her mother as best I could.
I'm sure you did. Clarabelle impressed me a great deal.
I'm pleased to hear it. She's a good girl, if a little scatterbrained.
You can understand, losing Mother at such a young age.
You too. People are too gentle with her. Miss Kersey was raised in conditions that many children could only dream of.
So she wanted for nothing.
Nothing at all.
I know Richard Kersey and Mr. Van Haven were friends.
Pfft. Maybe they were once.
But their wives? Did Catherine Kersey and Amanda Van Haven get on well?
Them? I think they tried to maintain a level of decorum, in spite of everything.
Was there any conflict between them?
Nothing they ever mentioned. But before Kersey disappeared, there was that strange incident with the picture.
Picture?
Oh, forgive me. I was miles away. I worry an awful lot about how terribly expensive everything is getting. This damn government should be run out of office. Don't you agree?
Financially, I don't think you should have anything to worry about.
Very well. Shortly after his wife's death, Kersey brought Mr. Van Haven a picture. It was purportedly a family heirloom. Priceless.
Interesting. What happened?
Kersey was afraid of something. He asked for the painting to be looked after. Mr. Van Haven agreed at first. But then, you know how it is.
No. How is it?
Just think about it. Her husband never liked art. Then all of a sudden there's an enormous painting hanging in the living room. He suddenly got interested in interior design, you understand? Mrs. Van Haven is a smart woman. She was suspicious from the get-go.
I presume Mr. Haven didn't stand a chance.
Men never do, Mr. Oliver. He admitted he was only looking after the painting as a favour to Kersey. And when he mentioned what it was worth, and that it belonged to Catherine...
Poor guy.
Well, Mrs. Van Haven was furious. You could see that such an ostentatious reminder of a dead woman upset her. She ordered her husband to get rid of it immediately. Immediately!
So what became of the painting?
First, Mr. Van Haven tried to return it, but Kersey wouldn't hear of it. He said that, after Catherine's death, he couldn't have the painting in the house.
But Mr. Van Haven had to listen to his wife, didn't he?
He did, and the painting disappeared. I don't know what became of it.
Mrs. Fink, you're priceless.
It would be rude to deny.
Mrs. Fink, is there anything else you want to tell me about? A clue or a piece of evidence that might help crack the Kersey case?
There is something, but the information will cost you.
I'm ready for that.
That photo you saw in Mr. Van Haven's office, or rather its print.
Go on.
This is it. Do you know whose face has been scraped off it?
Wait, that's Catherine Kersey, isn't it? Signed Viper.
Precisely.
Where did you get it?
From Mrs. Van Haven's personal album. She thinks she lost it, but won't ask the staff, of course. Keeping a photo like that would be a little strange, to say the least.
You mention it might cost me. How much for the photo?
That's why I met you. I want this much for it.
That's fine by me, Mrs. Fink. That's a fair price, and if it leads me to Kersey, it will even be a noble act.
Do you have any idea how much I paid at the hairdresser's last time? I've had the same style for 20 years, and they tried to rip me off like some naive tourist.
That's scandalous, Mrs. Fink. Allow me to cover the costs of your next visit.
And the colouring? I can't look like I was getting old now.
Of course, the coloring too. Will that do it?
It'll have to. I'm not a beggar, Mr. Oliver.
It never crossed my mind, Mrs. Fink.
Good luck, Mr. Oliver. That is all I have for you. Farewell.
I need to check the investigation board. Now I need to set the new clues and data on the board. This is a good lead, but the information may... Good morning, Mr. Pencey. Can I begin by saying that whatever is said will remain between us?
I'm glad to hear it, Mr. Oliver. We don't want any gossip. It could hurt the Kerseys.
Kersey's? You meant to say Miss Clarabelle, right?
I'm sure that Mr. Richard will return. If he isn't found, it's only because he doesn't want to be.
And yet, that's exactly what Miss Clarabelle hired me for, to find her father.
Which only goes to show she doesn't believe in his death either. Personally, I think this whole investigation is unnecessary, but I'm proud of the little lady. In hiring you, she behaved like a Kersey.
What exactly is your name, Mr. Pencey?
What a peculiar question.
I mean your first name. I'm just curious. Clarabelle couldn't tell me. To her, you're just Pencey.
My first name is... What is all this nonsense, Mr. Oliver? Get to the point.
Of course. You've known Clarabelle since she was a child, haven't you?
That's right.
Why didn't you then become her guardian after her father's disappearance?
She was never my responsibility, Mr. Oliver. I looked after the house. Care of the child was the responsibility of the Van Havens.
Yes, Clarabelle mentioned it. How did that come about?
It was Van Haven's idea. After her mother's death, Clarabelle needed a female hand. The Van Havens' housekeeper seemed an ideal choice. And Mr. Richard wasn't around, so the assistance of Mrs. Fink seemed appropriate. He agreed, and since then, the little lady merely slept here.
I see. You said that Richard wasn't around?
Yes. Mr. Richard spent most of the year abroad. He had to oversee the family plantations. Even while his wife was alive, he was at home maybe 3 months a year.
And after her death, his daughter wasn't enough to keep him around? One thing puzzles me. Why didn't he take his daughter with him?
To that jungle? A 10-year-old?
Okay. Sorry I asked.
We did the right thing, Mr. Oliver, entrusting her to the Van Havens. I adore the little lady, but I wasn't the right person to bring her up. Mrs. Fink brought her up well and gave her some love, I hope.
I see. And after Clarabelle moved out, did you keep in touch?
Of course. She can always count on me.
So, you get on well?
Yes, and it will be even better when Mr. Richard returns.
Will he return?
I'm sure of it. Is there anything more I can do for you?
Isn't the major domo's role to supervise the servants?
Of course.
But I don't see any other servants.
I let them go. They were only getting in the way.
Pity. I had some questions for them.
Oh? It's no loss. Believe me. They couldn't even make a bed properly.
Really? But who sleeps here? Miss Clarabelle rents a room in the center of town. Anyway, I doubt she'd want to stay in a house filled with tragic memories. Are there any other Kerseys? Are there?
No.
There were no servants, were there? Just you, cleaning day in, day out, keeping the house looking like it once did. I admire your devotion, Pencey, because the lack of servants means Clarabelle doesn't want the house. Does she still pay you?
The mistress does not yet have access to the estate.
So how do you survive?
I economize, and I have some money put by.
Is that all?
Well, I do possess some valuable information. I think it might bring the picture into focus.
I was curious. What does the famous Kersey coffee taste like?
Are you asking if I ever tasted it?
Well, did you?
With my blood pressure, it wouldn't be recommended.
But you did try it.
I did.
I knew it. What was it like?
Well, it was a long time ago.
But you must remember.
I'd rather not. Let's change the subject.
Mrs. Fink mentioned that after Catherine's death, Richard gave Joseph a picture to look after. Apparently, it stirred up a heap of trouble.
That old tart. She spoke to you. That's how she treats professional secrecy.
You know the story?
The picture? I do. There was a bit of a fuss.
Good. Tell me all about it.
What do you want to know?
How large is the picture?
Quite large. About a square meter or so? It was intended to attract attention, and it did an excellent job.
I see. What is it of?
The Kersey's first coffee plantation, the one in Guyana, from where the family's fortune derives, or at least what's left of it when Mr. Richard returns.
Aha, so the picture shows a coffee harvest.
Yes, I suppose so.
Is there anything else I should know about the picture? Anything special about it?
I told you it was a triptych, didn't I?
No. What's that?
A painting on 3 canvases. The central piece is the largest and presents, as it were, the heart of the picture. The smaller canvases supplement it. They apparently place the center image in more context, give it depth. All I cared about was that it wasn't dusty.
That's very interesting. Mrs. Fink said nothing about it being in 3 parts.
When the Van Havens got it, it wasn't. At the beginning of the last century, Mr. Richard's grandfather gave the side canvases to the British Museum. Only the centerpiece remained with the family.
How did Richard come by it?
Lionel Kersey, Mr. Richard's father, gave it to Miss Catherine as a wedding present.
Wouldn't he have inherited it anyway after his father's death?
I suppose so. But maybe, perhaps Mr. Lionel also wanted rid of it for some reason.
You think so?
No, but you have to admit it's a possibility.
I'm all ears, Mr. Pencey. What is this information?
Someone else may be looking for the picture, Mr. Oliver. It is important to me that Mr. Richard doesn't lose his family heirloom.
And so that's why he wanted to store it at the Van Havens, to protect it from theft.
So I suspect.
I see. Who else wants it?
The person in question is most likely George McFaul. He asked me once if I knew anything about the story connected with the painting. He's an acquaintance of Mr. Richard since way back when. He's an interesting type, if I can describe him so.
Why would he be looking for it? Selling a well-known picture like that means you're almost sure to get caught.
Sell it? No, not at all. You see, this is no ordinary picture.
What do you mean?
Mr. Richard appreciates fine alcohol, if you get my drift. Mr. McFaul, too. One evening, they appreciated some whiskey so enthusiastically they woke me up. I went to ask if everything was all right, and it was then when I heard Mr. Richard say, apparently the picture holds a secret.
So the picture may be more than just a keepsake. That's a puzzle.
We do not need to solve it, Mr. Oliver. Please, just get the picture back. When Mr. Richard returns, I want him to see I've looked after the family's interests.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pencey.
Thank you for your understanding, Mr. Oliver.
I need to check the investigation board. So, what do I have to deal with this week? Now I need to set the new clues and data on the board. That's it. Some great deduction skills, Oliver. I think these are all the connections. I still need to move the investigation further and get more clues. I think these are all the connections. I still need to move the investigation further and get more clues. Should I move the investigation forward or wait and make some more cash instead? I got back late today. I poured a glass and turned on the TV. It wasn't a good idea.
Breaking news. Joseph Van Haven, the coffee entrepreneur, has been reported missing. Just like recently another coffee supplier and close friend of his, Richard Kersey, was. Maybe someone will start looking for them before we run out of coffee here in London. What are the police doing? All I see is them standing in line outside the Black Mug. Can't the Kerseys afford a private investigation? I thought they were rich.
Van Haven? First, he hangs up when asked about the painting. Now, he disappears. He can't be hiding from me. If he's in hiding. If he's even still alive. I've got to make headway with this case. Funny thing, it seems that this investigation will need me to make and spend a lot of money to get anywhere near the truth. Going bankrupt with the company means the end of the investigation. Where the hell is that sly dog Richard? Whose toe did he step on? Did he willingly abandon his daughter in Neo-London for good? Is it one of those cases where the truth is hidden and tangled in a decades-old web spined by guilt, hate, money, and broken promises or badly ended friendships?
Dear Arthur, I hope you don't have too much trouble with all this managing and selling coffee stuff. It's a crazy idea, but it may work. I've heard you're already winning the trust of the coffee entrepreneurs Richard has worked with. I know Clarabelle has given you all the needed information. Forgive me for not contributing more, but I prefer to keep my head down due to present circumstances. I've also heard on TV about Joseph missing. Did you talk to Clarabelle about it? She must be devastated, as Joseph was more like a father to her. Sadly speaking, contrary to Richard, she could always count on Van Haven. I'm sure these same bastards are behind Joseph's disappearance. He was Richard's only friend, after all. I fear even more for my brother, and now also for Clarabelle. I know I'm asking you for another favour, but I'm begging you, keep an eye on her and be careful who you trust. In this corrupt city, everyone has their own fishy issues. Stay on your guard, and good luck. Henry Kersey.
Another report. Hope there's some good news. Someone place an order. The deal isn't great, but it's a chance for some extra cash. I think that's all I've got for now. Let's see if there are any connections. I think that's all I've got for now. Let's see if there are any connections. I think that's all I've got for now. Let's see if there are any connections. Another report. Hope there's some good news. Good morning. My name's Arthur Oliver. We're launching a new type of coffee onto the market and offering preferential terms to those who partner with us first. I heard you're open to various initiatives, so I thought you might be interested in doing business with us.
Oliver? Not Olivier? Like the marvelous Laurence Olivier?
Excuse me, who?
You're joking, surely. Laurence Olivier was the greatest British actor and a close personal friend of mine. We worked together at the Grand Theatre in London. Have you ever been there?
Well, to be honest, my cultural life has been suffering a bit lately due to all this coffee business.
But that's a grave error, Mr. Olivier. Without culture and art, we'd be nothing but machines for counting money.
But you won't get into the theatre without money, though, will you?
Any friend of mine will always have a place found for them. Perhaps I'll find one for you too. If your offer interests me, of course. So, why don't you give it a go?
I heard you used to be involved with the theatre.
Why the past tense? True passion never dies. Of course, I devote most of my time to business, but that's theatre in a sense too, isn't it? Improvised perhaps, but all the more exciting for it.
Oh, yes. My next question, then, will be about coffee.
Bravo! And the curtain goes up.
I have to admit I fell into business without any training. I suppose you knew exactly what you were doing when you decided to study economics.
Nothing of the sort. As a young man, I dreamed of being an actor, but it's hard to make a living at. Economics was a more sensible option. After graduating, I could start earning immediately and have time for theatre after work. At least, that's what I thought.
It didn't happen?
No, I did return to the theatre after my studies, but not to the stage. I became the manager.
You're one of the best-known businessmen in London. Does that help or hinder you?
Is that what they're saying about me this week? Well, I am known, I suppose, because I'm effective. But I have to disappoint you, sir. Most of the stories about me are as exaggerated as a Greek tragedy. Success always breeds jealousy. Perhaps you'll find out for yourself one day. Of course, being known brings certain benefits. The right surname can open many doors, forgives little sins. Like lateness, for example. A terrible habit, one I've struggled with my whole life. You have no idea the people who have on occasion had to wait for me.
I'm sure you know all the things I've heard about you. Bursting with ideas, a man of culture, a complete businessman.
I may have. You know, I'm not so vain as to listen to everything other people say about me. I'm curious who it was lavishing all this praise on me, though.
Mr. Van Haven, for one. I met him not long ago.
Ah, good old Joseph. Our friendship began when I was able to help him out with his business, you know.
Just as I thought. After all, you have such vast experience in business and so many contacts.
I'm sure you'd like to avail yourself of him, eh?
Who wouldn't? But seriously, I wanted to ask you about something else. Did you ever meet my boss's brother? Did you know Richard Kersey?
Of course. You ask as if Richard was already dead. It's possible, I suppose. He was certainly the most high profile of the Kerseys. But even if he's off the scene, the family legend won't end just like that.
Legend?
Yes, that fairy tale about the shaman coffee. You must have heard about it.
No, I really haven't heard the tale. Could you tell me it?
But of course. For thousands of years, the shaman of Guyana have been captivating a variety of black coffee. A variety so powerful, it puts you in touch with the spirits of your forebears. In the age of great explorers, Shillard Kersey brought this coffee to Europe. People went crazy for it, or from it, or over it. Who knows? But that particular variety was banned, and forbidden fruit tastes sweeter.
Wow, your interpretation is so good, I almost want to believe it.
It is, isn't it? And yet, it's a lot of nonsense. 300-year-old marketing, that's all.
And yet, that's precisely what we're talking about. Doesn't that prove the effectiveness of the Kerseys?
Their arrogance, more like. The conviction that they are something special. Richard told me the tale is a legend, but it was obvious he wanted to believe it.
Thanks. That's an interesting observation.
All my observations are.
Mr. McFaul, allow me to get down to business. The coffee I'd like to offer you is top-quality beans roasted by experts at the optimum temperature of 270 degrees. That temperature means that...
My patience has gone up in smoke, that's for sure. Heavens above, Mr. Oliver. We're speaking about coffee, an almost divine elixir for many. I appreciate your knowledge and your professionalism, but please, try another argument.
Forgive me, my mistake. It wasn't the most creative of openings, quite banal. The more so that I had been told you were the master of unusual and creative business chat.
If we're speaking of creativity and avoiding the banal, you reminded me of my youth and my beginnings in the theatre. You should have seen what I got up to back then. We went out into the streets, we wanted to change the world and disagreed with everything on principle. Yes, those were the days. People with a passion, devoting all their energy to a single goal. A team. But one that was created out of nothing, out of a shared idea. We were a force for change in the theatre world. Different opinions combining as one, becoming impossible to ignore.
Mr. McFaul, a team like that would be worth its weight in gold in business. Bold, joint thinking for a cause is fundamental to any project. I could tell you about my experiences with teamwork, but I don't want to take up your time, and we have important business to discuss.
You see, sir, it's like this with me. Sometimes it's good if someone brings me back down to earth. Of course, let's get down to business. I'm very interested in what you have to offer. Seems to me we view business in the same way, and my intuition is rarely wrong in these matters. My, you've kept me talking, Mr. Oliver. Any more, my train will have vanished like my dreams of acting. I need to catch it, so let's get to the point. Give me a better price and we can sign. How far can you come down?
A man of the arts, a top negotiator. You juggle roles like a class actor, or a super salesman, or maybe both.
Maybe. Maybe we could cut the foreplay, so I don't have to sign the contract through the train window. I'm fond of compliments, like any artist, but there's a time and a place for anything. I can give you 20 minutes max. Is that enough?
Of course, I propose this discount on the first contract. Fast enough, Mr. McFaul?
Yes, you certainly managed to make me laugh quickly enough. No, seriously. I want this discount. That was the number you really meant to say, wasn't it? I've been around a long time and I know the script by heart, you see.
I guess I can't have stressed the quality of our product highly enough. You know that quality costs. We can discuss a discount, but the terms have to work for both sides.
Quality is key for me in all my decisions, believe me. Just ask the people at East Suits how long it takes me to choose a tie. But I digress. Okay, can you maintain quality at this discount? That's the best I can do.
We never compromise on quality, but this is a big discount. Okay, let's sign and I'll head off to East Suits to celebrate by buying a decent tie. Yours is terrific.
It's called Taste, Mr. Olival. I have it both in my choice of ties and business partners. One last little detail, though. Change discount to this. That won't ruin our relations now, will it, partner?
Do you ever stop acting? Okay, I'll give you that too. Let's sign right away so you'll be able to choose the best carriage for the trip. I should sum up what happened after that meeting. The legend of the coffee fortune. So, McFaul is also telling the Kerseys fairy tales. He gave me the slip, and the contract was wrapped up by his secretary. Very glamorous. Her name's Lori. Glamorous Lori heard the mention of Van Haven. He's the boss's pal. The boss warned him about that, you know. That Kersey construction? She meant the pyramid scheme. Damn you, Kersey. I took the contract and went after McFaul. He did say he'd help Joseph in his business. He saved him from Richard's dodgy deal, so they all know one another. Okay, but why did McFaul warn Joseph? He looks and talks like a pretty good con man himself. Suddenly I heard him. Whoever he was talking to, he was pretty pissed off. I tried to catch what it was about. Did you see that article? People are talking about it again. It was written by Baptiste. We have to act fast. McFaul. I watched as he disappeared on the train to another deal of a lifetime. For him, at least. I tried calling the number last dialed, but unfortunately, George's interlocutor didn't want to pick up the receiver. I arranged a meeting with Henry to ask him about Richard's pyramid scheme. If his brother had been behind it, Henry must have known. He did know, of course. They dreamt up the swindle together. To begin with, it went pretty well. But greed got the better of them, and in court they were buried by an anonymous witness. Who? The Kersey's family contacts pointed to Britt, the other blonde from the photo. Why did Britt rat on him and Richard? Her friend from uni. Time to pay her a visit. I need to check the investigation board. This is a good lead, but the information may cost me a lot. Now I need to set the new clues and data on the board. I think that's all I've got for now. Let's see if there are any connections. This is a good lead. Hi, Gus. You know who this is?
Hi? Is that Hank? Hank Lomi?
Arthur Oliver. How could you confuse us?
Oh, boy, Arthur! Oh, sorry, mate. It's been a long time. How's tricks?
Very briefly, no wife, no kids, in a foreign country, and with a troublesome past. I'm on a case in London.
Oh,
Yeah, precisely. Look, I know you've retired, and I don't want to drag you into this. I was only thinking that your computer-like brain might not have totally erased all the data from Scotland Yard.
that's classified material, Arthur. If you ask about it, I'll have to hang up.
No, chill out. I mean information that was in the public sphere, and only slightly police-related. You had it all.
Okay, shoot. As long as it's nothing sensitive, I might be able to help.
You know what, Gus? You sound different. Sort of calmer than I remember. You know what I mean?
Yeah, some of the boys have mentioned it. I think I'm just more relaxed. Tomatoes don't raise your pulse as much as dead bodies, although by all accounts they make great manure.
That was a big change, wasn't it? From the pandemonium of the homicide division to a peaceful retirement?
Yep, it was a bit of a shock. No phones ringing, no one demanding we get results, no yelling. The only thing in your diary is the prostate appointment. None of the pressure you lived with for decades.
Like being on holiday?
Yeah, to begin with. After 2 weeks, though, I started to go crazy. I was waiting for them to call and say it was a mistake. They'd miscalculated my retirement age. Come back right away and collect your gun. They never rang.
Uh-huh. Tell me you don't miss it.
Margot and I sometimes go and bet on the horses. Now that's excitement. Different, but strong as hell. Try it, you'll see.
Thanks. For now, the moments when I've got nothing to sweeten my coffee with are enough.
So, blood pressure normal? And sugar is white death. Give it up. Anything else you want?
I came across this guy, name of George McFaul. You know anything about him?
Listen, Arthur, I've always liked you, and I want to help, but you need to give me a little more.
Well, this McFaul...
No, that's not what I mean. You need to give me a little more. Get it?
Ah, I see. You still like whiskey?
Do I? Apart from Margot, my tomatoes, and the horses, it's the only thing keeping me alive.
Oh, I'm sure you wouldn't say no to a nice bottle of 25-year-old Johnny Walker.
Great! So, what were you asking again? McFaul, of course I do. What do you want to know?
Was he mixed up in the Catherine Kersey murder? I don't have access to the case files.
Case, you say?
What do you mean?
Imagine the scene. A boy beats up a girl on school grounds so badly the headmaster has to react. The parents are afraid and are worried about the hooligan. Then his father enters the fray, an important type, wealthy, wants to sort things out. So he pays for a few things, a new playground, some holidays for the poorer kids. The bruises heal, the affair dies down.
The hooligan was Richard Kersey? A friend of his. Wait, the father was Lionel Kersey? He wanted to hush it up?
You're breaking up, Arthur.
Okay, I get it. And what about McFaul? Is he anywhere in the case notes?
If I remember well, no. Maybe they had nothing on him? But he's a wily old fox.
What do you mean?
The guy is well known in London. Supposedly a businessman, but he's a chancer. He opens 5 businesses, 4 close within 6 months, and so on year after year. Lots of his partners have tried to pin something on him, but apart from the first time round, nothing sticks.
First time?
McFaul has been doing his business from the very beginning. For one scam, he was fired. Museum or a theatre, I don't quite recall. I do remember, though, that the papers wrote about his hysterics in court. It was a bit of an affair in the 80s. You'll find out about it easily enough.
Is that all?
Oh, I'm sure it's not. After all, I was in homicide, whereas the only thing McFaul killed was a series of businesses. Fraud Squad is another division. Different people. Not for me.
Thanks, Gus. You've helped me a lot. I never thanked you for helping me, Gus. Back there in the port. It was you who found me, wasn't it?
Give it a rest, Arthur. There's nothing to talk about. Kersey died on the spot.
I called you from the hospital. Some woman said you'd gone out for a moment to the garage and would be back soon.
No way! Jill told me someone had called, but that they didn't leave a number. It was you!
Damn it, Gus. You remember even details like that? You took hundreds of calls.
I remember July 16th, 2010, Arthur, in its entirety. It was my last day at work. I went down to the garage to hand over Mrs. Kersey's key to some uniformed officers, the one we seized at the park as evidence. They were to take it to the Kersey place, because, apart from the painting in the boot, we didn't find a thing. Case closed.
Uh-huh. Picture, you said?
Yes. Was it important?
No, I don't think so. All I know is the Kerseys had some family paintings. It was wrapped up, you say. Did you see what it was of?
It showed a landscape of a coffee plantation harvest time, or something like that. It was wrapped up like a present. You think it was for someone at the docks?
I'll try to find out. Thanks, Gus. Thanks for everything. I need to check the investigation board. Now I need to set the new clues and data on the board. I think that's all I've got for now. Let's see if there are any connections. If I go bankrupt, my investigation is over. You're fired. Sorry. You're fired. Sorry. I think that's all I've got for now. Let's see if there are any connections. I think that's all I've got for now. Let's see if there are any connections. If I go bankrupt, my investigation is over. If I go bankrupt, my investigation is over. If I go bankrupt, my investigation is over. You're fired. Sorry. If I go bankrupt, my investigation is over. I don't trust banks, but this money will help. Have I assigned all the tasks properly? So, what's going on in this company? Someone place an order. The deal isn't great, but it's a chance for some extra cash. I think that's all I've got for now. Let's see if there are any connections. Have I assigned all the tasks properly? A new week, a fresh start. I think that's all I've got for now. Let's see if there are any connections. If I go bankrupt, my investigation is over. If I go bankrupt, my investigation is over. Another report. Hope there's some good news. Someone place an order. The deal isn't great, but it's a chance for some extra cash. So, what's going on in this company? Good morning, Miss Gamelkvist. My name's Arthur Oliver, and I represent one of the Kersey's companies.
Good morning, Mr. Oliver. Would you like a coffee?
That's funny. I was about to propose the same thing. We're offering an exceptional variety of black coffee in attractive, personalized packaging at a very good price for our first partners.
We've got 31 varieties of coffee in our range, 6 of which we only introduced in the last quarter. I was offering you a cup of our 27, our current bestseller. Can you see where this is leading?
Yes. Well, no, actually. I don't know. Give me a clue?
What do we need another coffee for, Mr. Oliver?
Not just any other coffee, Miss Gamelkvist. In order to convince you, I've brought a sample with me. It's been roasted by our master roaster at 270 degrees Celsius. It has 40 milligrams of caffeine per 100 grams and a perfect balance of acidity and bitterness. Liquid fuel.
I appreciate your brevity in preparation. Okay, Mr. Oliver, let's give this marvel a try. Who knows? Maybe it will knock our 27 off the podium.
I guess that while living in Gothenburg, you regularly visited the famous coffee houses in Hague.
From time to time. They're very popular, and they do serve great coffee.
Oh, yes. I had occasion to try it while there on business. I also came across that famous cinnamon bun there, the Hagebullen. Did I remember it well?
Buns, Mr. Oliver. Coffee houses. Please get to the point. I have a board meeting in a moment.
I guess a position like yours is pretty demanding.
Those are the only kind I like, Mr. Oliver. In taking every decision, I have to make long-term predictions about the consequences. Constant quality control, analyzing the influence of the products on the environment, global logistics, and managing a team across several time zones. And that's all before lunch. After that, I do everything else.
And I thought I was busy.
It's simply a question of organizing and priorities, Mr. Oliver. And now, let's return to our priorities, shall we?
I hear you studied management at the London School of Economics.
I did. Why do you ask?
I studied the same, albeit at a less prestigious university, but I'm getting the impression that it's not studies that matter, but inborn talent. Would you agree?
Not entirely, Mr. Oliver. Studies helped me polish my, natural, entrepreneurial tendencies. But above all, they gave me expert knowledge. That's as much as I can tell you.
I'm curious how such an intense working life affects your ability to manage your family life.
And I'm curious as to why you should be curious about it, Mr. Oliver. At what point did I give you the impression I wanted to talk to you about my private life?
I do apologize, Miss Gamelkvist. No offense intended. Of course, it's none of my business. Let's get back to the matter at hand.
Yes, let's. I'd prefer to remember you as being professional.
You have the same photo.
The same?
I saw it in Joseph Van Haven's office.
Oh, really?
Yes, he was extremely concerned about Richard's disappearance.
That's touching. He managed to tell you that before he himself went missing.
It does make you think. It's true. And what do you think about Kersey's disappearance?
I have no idea, Mr. Oliver. Doing business with the Kerseys can be both profitable and destructive, in numerous ways. Maybe Richard got under someone's skin again.
Did you have any bad business with him?
Richard had a lot of crazy ideas after we graduated.
Is that how you met? Student business?
What does that have to do with anything, Mr. Oliver? Are you selling coffee or leading an investigation?
Forgive me, just curious. I like to know. It makes it easier to make the right decision.
And what decision of yours has anything to do with knowing about me and Kersey?
Well, for example, not to irritate you with such questions. Okay, let's talk about coffee.
Okay, we were introduced by Amanda, now Mrs. Van Haven. Now, what about that coffee?
I do like your bracelet. That snake, is it a symbol of eternity?
I wish. It was a present from an old friend.
Well, good luck then.
What for?
That you renew that friendship. If you're still wearing it, there's still hope, right?
That's nice, Mr. Oliver. Thanks.
Miss Gamelkvist, our product is truly excellent, but we both know that isn't enough nowadays, right?
Carry on.
So we can add a unique marketing strategy, personalized packaging and gadgets. Creative but cheap to make, and they'll fit inside standard packs. And thanks to that, the logistics costs stay low, and a more interesting product will hit the shelves. What do you think?
I see you've thought this through well. The idea is interesting, but I'd like to see an example of something you've done before. Can you do that?
Of course. I'll make sure you receive a sample.
Thanks. We do actually have tried and tested suppliers, but none of them came forward with such an idea. Such extras could turn out to be a real boon for your company.
Before we enter into an agreement, I'd like to know about the precise guidelines concerning supplies. We like to consider everything in advance. It makes our lives a lot easier and frees you up from overseeing a new partner.
I like your approach. Anything that makes life easier is welcome. I should warn you, though, that there will still be the occasional spot check.
Naturally, it's always good to make a good first impression. Otherwise, how could we then strengthen them?
We shall see, Mr. Oliver. We shall see.
Miss Gamelkvist, if the Sarote brand is built on specialists as good as you are, its success is scarcely surprising. I hope I get the chance to learn from watching how you work.
Sorote's success is, above all, based on a good plan and persistence in carrying it out. Of course, having the right people is key, both in-house as well as business partners. That's a subject for a different discussion, though. Let's discuss the contract. Your offer is extremely interesting, Mr. Oliver. Interesting enough for me to, as an exception, offer you a small starting bonus. What would you say to receiving priority in our supply schedule? All I need is this discount.
Thanks. I'm sure that's an advantage for companies that don't deliver on time, and I know that that's very important for Sarote. But we always deliver on time, so it doesn't really offer us much, so I can't give such a large discount. Now, if we were talking about this discount...
I've taken the liberty of checking how well you meet your deadlines. I'll say this, it's not bad, but you're only just starting out and there's little to measure you against. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, though, because late deliveries are a nightmare for logistics. So, I'll come down to this discount.
How about this, then? Instead of haggling over percentage points like with other suppliers, why don't we make use of the creativity of our marketing department for our mutual benefit? Discounts don't build a brand identity, but unique freebies and a good campaign do. We can take that on and still offer this discount.
That's not enough, Mr. Oliver. Colourful promises like that might work on small shopkeepers. I'm interested in specifics. What actions and on what scale? Please tell me more.
So, am I waving some kind of cheap trinket at you, Miss Gamelkvist? It would be stupid of me to make Sorote an offer without finding out about your specific needs and expectations. I know from experience that a market analysis can provide us with the specifics we need. Does that sweeten the atmosphere any?
If anything is sweeter, it's only your self-esteem. Relations are the foundation of exchange, but only if we're exchanging more than common courtesies. The meeting is at an end. Goodbye.
If I go bankrupt, my investigation is over. I think that's all I've got for now. Let's see if there are any connections. Another report. Hope there's some good news. Good morning, Miss Gamelkvist. Arthur Oliver. We're meeting to talk about coffee supplies. What a view! You must be able to see the whole of London when the weather's like it is today.
Good morning, Mr. Oliver. You see more from above. That's how I like it. What are you here to offer me?
I do like your bracelet. That snake, is it a symbol of eternity?
I wish. It was a present from an old friend.
Well, good luck then.
What for?
That you renew that friendship. If you're still wearing it, there's still hope, right?
That's nice, Mr. Oliver. Thanks.
You have the same...
The same?
I...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
I
have...
Did...
Rich?
Is that...
What does... And what?
Well...
Okay.
This brand grew out of our passion for coffee. We have a young team, but with a lot of experience in the industry. Our philosophy is one of ideal coffee packaged as the customer wishes.
And so the lecture begins. If I don't stop you now, you'll waste a whole 5 minutes. What's worse, you'll waste my 5 minutes. Please cut to the chase.
I like to know who I'm doing business with. I assume you're the same.
Of course. Where is this leading?
Just this. A friend from the industry told me recently that Clark Abbott is on the list of suppliers to Sorote. Isn't that the brother of the Abbott involved in the packaging scandal?
Firstly, as you correctly noted, our supplier is Clark, not his brother. Secondly, Stu Abbott hasn't had anything proved against him. Thirdly, you're not in a coffee house, but in my office. Here we work, not gossip.
If you ask me, you need to have a very strong character in such a high position, in such a large company. You're really quite remarkable, Miss Gamelkvist.
Well, I'm certainly demonstrating remarkable patience right now. Cheap compliments won't get you a better deal. Could we please get down to discussing the details? Your offer is extremely interesting.
John's has given me similar terms, but with...
There's nothing to think about. Mr. Oliver, John's is on the verge of bankruptcy, and will offer you the world without batting an eyelid. And Basford's, well, their reps are known in the industry for their, imagination. You won't get a better offer than mine.
Daniel John's bankrupt? We work together. Could he be taking advantage of me? Maybe I'm short of experience. I guess I could use your experience in putting together a deal for Sorote.
Friendships in business can be illusory, so best keep your guard up. Personal relations aren't the most important thing, although they do need to be worked on. What would you say to a neutral discount and no suspicious promises?
It sounds good, and genuine, if I may say so. I should sum up what happened after that meeting.